All right, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Calling a Man's Answer Show, episode 91. And I cannot believe I'm saying that out loud because that's so many episodes. Brennan, welcome back. How you been, dude?
Yeah, I've been really good. It was a busy last 2021, so we'll see how the new year goes. Got more planned, but yeah. What about you? Everything been good?
Yeah, dude, everything was really good. Yeah, it was a busy year. So our football season, I'm obviously a senior in college who I played college football. Our senior, I think last time I was talking to you, maybe my season had just got delayed to the spring, but yeah, I got delayed to the spring. So we had like a 2 small game season in the spring in 2021, and then eventually a full season in the fall. So I was doing full football.
Yep.
Podcast has been doing crazy like lately. My like it's been awesome. So I've been staying up to date with that. I'm about to graduate undergrad, and I'm looking forward to going to, or right now I'm looking at going into law school in the fall. I
Oh,
might
very nice.
I take a gap year. I don't know where I'm at with all of that, but yeah, dude, it's been pretty busy. What did you do in 2021? What were some of the biggest things you had to do?
So the year kicked off in last January. We were doing. We'll get into my other film show in a second here, but we were doing our top five show of the year last year, and I had planned a while to propose to my then girlfriend, and I thought, it's always doing something clever, so I did it on the show at the very end and read a little thing on it, and so that way it's recorded for everybody to hear. All our friends and family can go and listen to it, and obviously anyone else who wants to, but. She said yes, so she's my fiance now. We're getting married later this year, so that was a big start. And then we also got a house in the middle of the year. So during the craziest time of the market, like everything was going up, and we got lucky. We got a bid. It was our first house that we bid on, and there were 23 other bids, and we had to go over asking, not by too much, but we got it just barely. And there were a couple ahead of us, but they didn't have the right loan, so we just barely got the perfect amount. That's where actually I am now. Last time I was in a dingy apartment. Now I finally got my own place to do this stuff. So yeah, this year's planning for the wedding. We've got some big trips we got planned, but the podcast has been going strong too. We just did episode 258. I don't know. I lose track now. We do like one or two a week. So it's been a moving couple of years.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And remind me where you live again.
So last time we talked, I was living in King of Prussia, which is about 30 minutes north of Philadelphia. Now we're in Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware, so about 30 minutes south of Philadelphia. So not a big change, but East Coast, yeah.
Yeah, East Coast. Yeah, I remember talking to you about that. Yeah, dude, it's yeah, 20. It's still crazy. All the hectic going on, and it's cool that you get some normalcy. During this whole time and this whole pandemic time, like you get to propose to your girlfriend on the show
Yep.
you love to do, and obviously you guys are gonna get married and everything. You guys planning on having it in the East Coast? You guys gonna go somewhere for it? How are you gonna do all that?
Yeah, so we got this September we're doing it in on the East Coast in Maine. I grew up in Maine, so we're doing it in my family's backyard. They have enough space to have like 80-ish people, which is what we're planning on. So we got most of the planning done, and we're gonna go up there we'll go up there for a few days to get everything planned. But yeah, most everyone said yes is coming, and so long as there's no other large outbreaks of anything, everyone should be game to go. So yeah, we're a lot of doing it ourselves. My fiance really likes to do a lot of make her own stuff and get things exactly how she wants it. So we looked at venues, but it was going to work better for us to do it that way.
No, yeah, definitely. But yeah, man, let's talk about your show for a little bit. Just real quick, for everyone who doesn't know who you are, if you don't know who he is and you didn't listen to last episode, just like for everybody who's back, the new listeners, because I have had some growth. Tell everybody who you are with your podcast, what your podcast is, so everyone can find it if they can, and basically what is the concept of what you do, because you have an actual structure to your show. It's not just nonsense like I do.
We've gotten a little loose. We moved away from some structure, but we still have a good amount of structure. So I have a show. It's a films talking review show called Films with the Women in My Life. So it's myself and three of the closest women in my life, one being my now fiance, one being my close friend who we started the show years ago, and the third being my mom. So we have three different women perspectives. A lot of the film shows on on most podcasts, like you look around, it's kind of the same couple of 30 something dudes talking. I'm like, yeah, like I know I'm kind of that, but I'm like, yeah, I have these other women who want to talk about stuff. There aren't as many female film shows. So they are all willing to do it to varying degrees, and we still have all three of them on now. I've been actually looking to try to get an additional host for a while just to keep the rotation strong. But we're on all the major podcasting platforms: Apple, Spotify, Castbox, all the big guys. So films with the women in my life. We got our socials too. On Facebook, that's what you look up. Instagram, it's just me at Brennan_podhost. That's kind of where we do most of our stuff. And then you can always email us with like suggestions, because we take listener suggestions. We just did a couple episodes of that. That's filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. But film review show is the general what we do.
Yeah, man, and you are not only just like really, really, really like talented at it, but you also like are one of the only people that I know who like watches so many movies. Like there's a couple other people who are close to you, but you watch so many movies in 1 year. And also, what a year for movies in 2021. I feel like just art in general, creativity in general, 2021. Now, I think a lot of that for movies could be the pushback from a lot of these movies were supposed to come out in 2020, but quarantine happened and COVID happened. But what a year for movies in 2021.
It was a big improvement. We saw it the most, or I realized those, because you're right. I just watch stuff all year long. I think I was low last year. I think I only got in like the low 300s of movies, of movies I had never seen. And then of that, 150-ish were from 2021. But we do our draft show at the end of every year, and that's where we draft what we think is going to be like the most popular movies, and then people vote on it. So we can see like the listener movie of the year is. And this year we were looking at like our draft board, and like, wow, this is a deep year. Like usually like 2020 was kind of a struggle when we were getting to the 7th, 8th picks. We were like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what people saw. So we just started picking stuff like we saw and liked. But this year, like there was plenty of big movies that no one even picked. There was a Marvel movie that didn't get picked. That never happens. Like there's big stuff, and there's a lot of like pretty quality. There was a couple of like standouts for me, but of really quality like 3.5-star movies, big budget blockbuster movies that like lived up to expectations. So just a solid comeback year. I was impressed.
Yeah, what were those standout movies for you?
So I liked some of like the more indie weirdo movies. My number one of the year was this movie called Zola, or it's stylized at Zola, like the Twitter at symbol. And that's about a woman who is like a waitress, and she strips at night. And she meets this girl, and she's like, hey, come with me to Florida and we'll make a bunch of money for the weekend. And she's like, all right, I'll go with you. And she goes down, and there's these two other guys that go with them, and they get into some weird misadventures. It's based off a real story, based off of like it must have been like a 40 reply Twitter feed of this woman telling her story about this weekend. And they made a movie about it. And the director is Janzika Bravo. She did a movie that's on Hulu right now called Lemon. And it's just, I don't even like that movie, like her first movie, that much, but it's just really creative. They use like little sounds that are like social media indicators. It doesn't seem like something that would work or something that I would even like, because there's a lot of those kind of based on a news article stories that just kind of come flat. This is full of life, great performances by the four leads. That is only on rental for most places, so you can't see it like free with your subscription or whatever. But that was my favorite of the year. A couple others that people can see. Pig, Nicolas Cage movie, that's on Hulu right now. But like not like the typical like he yells at people and punches them movie. It's a subtler, quieter movie. The Father, which people probably know because it won a bunch of Oscars last year. That was our movie of the year for our show. 3 out of the 4 of us had it on our top 5. So that was a 2021 movie. It's about a guy who's getting dementia or Alzheimer's, but you're from his point of view, so things are changing around him.
Shit, yeah. Where's that? Where can you watch that? Just for the listeners and me.
Yeah, Father might also be a rental, but it's like I think it's like a $3 or $4 rental on Prime, Google Play, YouTube. But that's worth it. Like I know, I know there's so much stuff. I have like 5 or 6 streaming services myself. So like usually if it's not on there, I'm like, like it's not worth your time. There's enough good stuff out there you probably haven't seen, but that's worth a few bucks. That was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you guys are rating these shows, I don't think I asked you this last time. How much do you like play into the accuracy of what the movie is trying to portray? Does that depend? Like, does your rating depend on that? So let's say like a space movie like Gravity. If
Mm.
I don't know how accurate that movie is, but let's say the accuracy. Do you guys take into the real world events of a movie when you're rating it, or is it more about how the movie was directed, filmed, the actors, how they acted, things like that?
So because it's the four of us, and I'm the one who's the most. I watch movies all the time. I listen to other movie shows. I'm the most like traditionally critically kind of person. My other three goes, they just kind of go off the cuff of what they like typically,
Hmm.
but they have their own criteria. Like I would say for realism and like looking to like try to like make the thing like the real thing. My mom, she's Mama K on the show. That's her like little name, and she's the one who's usually the most of stickler is not the right word, but she likes that stuff the most. I'm a little more tell a good story or give me memorable characters, do something unique that I haven't seen before, and I'll typically move above whatever like realism or like would that really happen kind of stuff. It bugs me in movies that are not wanting my attention or like are bad, and then so it's for me it's more of if they have the qualities elsewhere, I'll give it a pass. And then my other two co-hosts typically grade on it a little more. They're like, if it doesn't make sense to me, I'm not gonna hop on board. And that's why I like doing it with the three of them. It's because they don't. Everyone kind of sounds like me in a lot of shows, so I like hearing what people who are just like what your friend or your girlfriend or your mom would say. Like that's like their perspective kind of thing.
Yeah. Um, so when you're like, so you say you're more traditional. What is the more? I think we talked about like critiquing movies last time, but I
Mhm.
don't know if we went as in depth about what your criteria is. So what are your criteria when you're rating a movie? Do you do you grade them like against other movies that are in the same genre? Do you grade them against all type of movies? What are you looking at when you're watching a movie? How are you grading these movies, and how do you basically find the rating you're going to give when you talk about it on the show?
When it comes to it's typically like what is their like kind like what am I comparing it to? If we're watching a low budget like piece of trash like making fun of it movie, my ratings on that are going to be way different than if I'm watching an Oscars movie
Yeah.
because I there's plenty of crappy, terrible B movies that I really love and enjoy, and by all objective measures, they're all bad. But like,
Hmm.
if it's more enjoyment level on those, if I'm watching something with prestige, it's going to be up for things, or it's competing against other things of similar budget and talent behind the camera. It's another thing. If I know all like the directors and writers, and I look up all that kind of stuff, I like to keep track of that. So I'll have standards going in. Like if I see, like I saw the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie, Licorice Pizza. I'm comparing that to other Paul Thomas Anderson's movie.
Mm.
It's a good movie compared to most any movie, but compared to his other movies, it's kind of what I'm thinking about. So I try to pick like types. I try not to be unfair. Like I'm watching all those crappy Into the Dark Blumhouse movies right now that are on Hulu. They're mostly all bad, but a couple are better than the others. And in that case, I'm like, I kind of like these more. So yeah, I try to keep them in division, keep them in conference or whatever.
No, yeah, definitely. And one thing that like I totally remember us talking about um last time was you can watch something or watch a movie that's technically like just absolute dog water. Like it's
Yeah.
not good, but you can tell if it's made by someone who has a lot of promise. In the last year, have you watched any of these type of movies that were not that great, and you shouldn't watch them if you're just like trying to like enjoy a night, but you think in the next couple years that person's going to have a big break?
uh, it's usually harder to tell early on like that. I've saw a lot of stuff this year from first time directors that I thought were excellent, and I'm like, I can't wait to see more. Or I thought were like pretty close to like really high quality that I thought could do more. Like the director of The Father, Florian Zeller, he's done a bunch of plays and like directed plays, but this is his first film. And it won a bunch of stuff, and like obviously it's great. I can't wait to see more of him. But he's kind of been doing it before. There's a movie called 9 Days, which came out in the middle of the year, and that's by a first-time filmmaker, Edson Oda. That got a bunch of like film critic-y like festival awards, but it's not a mainstream movie. No one saw it. It got a small theatrical release, but that's about like an afterlife. Or not, it's not really an afterlife. It's more like a before life. This guy's in like this little house in like a never-ending desert, and souls come to meet him, and they're just people, and they like try to convince them why they should be born, why they should go to Earth. And he keeps track of his other projects, like his other people on Earth, but it's done through VHS tapes, so it's kind of retro. But that's a really good movie objectively. It's not like a bad one that came out. So usually when I like think of the ones that I didn't love, and then they come out with something later, I go back and watch them. Like Zola, the movie I was talking about earlier, her first movie, didn't like that movie. Lemon, saw it, didn't like it. But then I saw the newer one. I thought it was an improvement. So a lot of first-time directors I saw this year, but like a lot of the stuff that came out was actually pretty solid. It's getting easier to kind of make good stuff nowadays.
And why is that?
Technology is much better. You have more stuff to watch and like learn from. Stuff like being a YouTube and TikTok creator and all that kind of podcast, like just being able to. The barrier to entry is nothing. The barrier to entry is, do you have a phone? Do you have a microphone? Do you have headphones? Like, it's nothing. You can practice forever. And like back when, the modern day greats, like the people who came to prevalence in like the 80s and 90s, you couldn't do much. The best you could do was like camcord with your videos with your friends or whatever. But if you wanted to make a quality movie, you would need hundreds of thousands of dollars at minimum. You would need connections. Now you really you can make good movies now for a couple grand with an iPhone with some like good camera work and Final Cut Pro. Like that's really all you need. So even the movies that are a higher budget, they're not that high, like under $1 million, and you can make a movie, and really for a couple grand, you have a chance of making something really good.
Yeah, totally. And, I like how the barrier of entry is like really easy now, because I think, especially in more developed countries, it's going to bring out a lot of creativity. It sucks that, in third world countries and everything, with all that talent and all that brains, we can't get it out, because I'm sure there's some technically great directors who are from these third world countries that we'll never get to see from, However, I
never thought. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I want to hear what you were saying.
I was thinking. I can't remember where I heard it. I don't remember if we talked about it last time, but it's the theory that like the best movie maker or the best movie will never be seen because it's some person somewhere that isn't have access, and they don't, or they can't get to the things they need, or they won't get discovered. Like it's like the best movie ever is never going to be seen because that person's out there somewhere, and we're never gonna like be able to get them. Same thing with any like the best athlete, we're never gonna find them because they're just somewhere lost out there.
I swear to God, dude, every time I feel like people are so much more connected than like we think. Every single podcast I do, there's one theme that is in every single one of them. Like I swear, yesterday or 2 days ago when I did my episode 90. I was sitting here talking about something I said in a philosophy class about how the smartest people in the world were never discovered because they never came out or they never had the resources. And it's just crazy how everything kind of blends together. But yeah, totally, dude. When you think about it like that, technically, like, well, also you like not even people might not be discovered. Like think about LeBron, for example. He could have been an even better football player, but we'll never get to see that because he went a different avenue. So people who are using creativity and other things might go down one lane when they have so much skill for another thing. And that's not that big of a deal when you get to if you make it in that one sphere, because if you're interested in it, then you'll probably go to it anyways. Like a lot of people who make music, they tend to like start like doing clothes and start owning, if they want to be in movies, they can be in movies, like look at Ice Cube, right? He's a good example. However, it's a problem when it's like someone who's like wants to be a director and instead they go to med school. You're never going to be a director if you go to med school.
That's right.
Yeah. I think, resources aside, follow your dreams is what I think I'm trying to say.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's sometimes a person who could have made something really great, maybe they play it safe, practical person. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can do well in life and still lead a happy life if you didn't do the thing you wanted to do. But like that could have been. You just never know. You don't know if that could have been the person. And like it's robbed all of us of better things. But there's enough talent out there, drowning in talent, honestly, especially when it comes to like movie stuff. There's so many good people out there.
2021, back to that.
Yeah.
Do you think, what director or what directors had the best 2021 out of everybody?
There's a big one to talk about because they came out with two big movies, and that's Ridley Scott, who's made Alien, he's made Gladiator, he's made a lot of big stuff people know, and he came out with two movies this year. The first that came out was this movie called The Last Duel, which is got.
Ooh, yeah.
Have you seen it or heard of it?
No, yeah, it has what's his name? Matt Damon and
Uh,
Darth Vader's grandson or whatever.
Adam Driver, yeah.
Adam Driver, yeah.
Yeah, Matt Damon, Adam Driver, Ben Affleck is in it too. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon also wrote it, like co-wrote it. It's their first writing credit since Good Will Hunting, which is
Oh,
weird
wow.
because people always complain that there's no way these two guys wrote Good Will Hunting and never wrote anything else. I'm like, yeah, they have other things they're doing, but they co-wrote it, co-starred in it. And then the woman in it's Jodie Comer. She's a British actress, and the whole premise is the Adam Driver character and the Matt Damon character their last duel is over the fate of each other and this woman who at one point the whole thing is, did Adam Driver's character rape this woman who is Matt Damon's wife? And so the story is told in three segments: the first from Matt Damon's perspective, the second from Adam Driver's, and the third from Jodie Comer's. And the what's interesting is like each story is not that different from each other. Like you fill in some gaps and they do a little extra stuff, but like the takes are almost identical. So like what they each saw is like not that different from each other. And then by the end you see, I mean, once you see Jodie Comer's third act, I mean, that's kind of the one you are led to believe. And then they have the trial, and and by the time you get to the titular last duel, which is at the end of the movie, you're really invested. Like you really want one of these guys to win and the other to lose, and you like edge of the seat. And like no one saw it. It made like $10 million. It was like a $40 million movie to make. It came out in like September, October, and no one saw it. On the other way, a movie that a lot of people saw and you probably heard of is House of Gucci, which is Lady Gaga doing an accent with also Adam Driver and everybody. Al Pacino's in that. God, who else is in that? There's people. The guy who does who's going to be Morbius. He's a pretentious guy. Jared Leto.
Jared Leto, yeah.
Yeah, he's in it, and he's got all this makeup on, and he's doing this crazy like SNL character. I saw that, and that was like an okay movie. It was all right. Like it was kind of sloppy and all over the place, 2.5 hours long for no reason. But there were like some enjoyable bits. That's the one that's getting talked about a little bit more. That's the one that could be up for some awards, and I'm just confused because I saw them both, and I'm like. And the other one's also like, it's like a current, like, it's like a woman positive movie. You think that would be more popular? Just no one saw it. And then people are talking about House of Gucci, and I don't get it. So that's like he made both movies. Clearly his heart was in one more than the other. The other's like a Ridley Scott film. That's The Last Duel. And this other one is just like, he's like a director for hire. So like most directors only make one movie a year anyway. So, but I thought he was interesting because he made two. One is, to me, like a top 5  do you're great, and the other is like kind of a campy TV movie. But yeah, what are you gonna do?
For something like The Last Duel, though, do you think that the reason it didn't get as much push as it did is because, one, for a movie to be super long, I feel like it has to, like, in today's time, because everything is, like we talked about TikTok, it's so short. I feel like for something to be super long, it has to be attached to something like Marvel, DC, something like a superhero movie or like a franchise, what's not the Harry Potter, like the Harry Potter side franchise.
Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, something like that, right?
I've never seen any of those, and I watch everything. I've never seen those. They don't appeal to me. I've seen all the Harry Potters.
Yeah, I've never seen the Fantastic Beasts either, but I'm sure people do because they're always making another one. I feel like for a movie to be that long, and I know The Last Duel was a pretty long movie, and also
2.5 hours, I want to say.
Yeah, and then also it wasn't really on anything like a lot of movies get watched like that if they come out and they're immediately on HBO Max or they're on Hulu or on Netflix. Like The King, for example, is on Netflix. Or is that movie called The King?
There is a movie on Netflix called The King that came out a year or two ago.
Is it with Timothy Chalamet or whatever his last name is? Okay, yeah. See, Like that movie probably got a lot of clicks because it's on Netflix and it's really appealing to especially men and if if you have a couple hours on a Saturday night, Monday night, Wednesday night, you'd be
Mhm.
like, yeah, what the hell, watch it. If The
Right.
Last Duel was on Netflix, you probably would do that. So do you think like a movie like that going forward has to be on streaming platforms going and attached to a big name in order for it to get watched and have the numbers that it wants to?
It's got to be one or the. I mean, one or the other or both, because like obviously anything that is attached to a big franchise like Marvel, DC, Star Wars, it's all that's going to get views no matter where you put it. A lot of big Disney movies too. If it's an animated movie, it will get watched in
Mm-hmm.
theaters as well. Although they could just put it on Disney Plus too. Like Encanto, that was a really big movie at the end of the year. That was in theaters for like a month and a half, right to Disney Plus, and it's still like if I open my TikTok right now, I'm sure I'll see a thing about it because I'm on the movie stuff. But when it comes to The Last Duel, which is now on HBO Max, so if people have HBO Max, go check it out while you can because it is worth it. It's very good. The trailer makes it look
Slow.
drab. It looks like it looks a little like homework. Like it looks like tough to watch, bleak, dreary. Like the people who like the medieval stuff typically also like the fantasy kind of stuff, like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, those kind of watchers of things. And this doesn't have any of that. It's not like a fun movie. It's like, but it's yeah, but it's good. Like it's just like it's really like it tickles that intellectual part of your brain, and like and by the end it is emotional. But you have to give in the time, which is weird because House of Gucci, which I don't know if that came out with HBO Max and theaters. It was in theaters, but I don't know if it was like a dual release. But that's another one where like because it's a true story, like a true crime story. I think that's another genre that can still be popular is when or a biopic, like when someone goes and plays a famous person. The Bohemian Rhapsody, what's the other one with Ellen John, Rocket Man, stuff like that's gonna get eyes because people want to see their favorite person portrayed in the thing and see their life story. That's another genre that I think can survive in theaters. But it might be going the way like this. It's kind of a mid-budgety movie. It's like it might have been more expensive actually than I thought it was. But Last Duel is like it's kind of a dying breed of a type of movie. Like everything
Yeah.
that's going to go to theaters either be the blockbuster or the tiny indie movie that was $1 million and is on two screens. So it's
Well, yeah,
unfortunate.
too. Yeah. And like, I mean, like, I think theaters will always have to be in because, like, No Way Home, you have to
Yeah,
watch. An Endgame, you have to watch these movies in the theaters
right.
to get that emotion, dude. I swear I was tearing up in No Way Home because, like, I'm like the generation that grew up. I mean, you are too. Like, Tobey Maguire was my Spider Man. I obviously
Yeah.
watched Andrew Garfield when I was like, I think I was in high school. Maybe I was a little
Mm.
younger, even younger. And then now Tom Holland is like the Marvel guy, you know?
Yeah.
And so like they hit all three
Yeah.
perfectly. They hit it running. And so movies like that, like you can't imagine watching them. Like you can watch them again at home, but I can't imagine watching a crazy movie like that anywhere besides the theater.
No, it's like a sporting event. Like when I saw No Way Home, it wasn't as much as like when I saw Endgame. It was like am I at like the fucking Super Bowl? People are like standing up and cheering in like a dark theater with a bunch of other random strangers. But like still, so yeah, when Spider-Man No Way Home came out, you get clapping, you get cheers. I can hear everyone crying. And then got me a little bit. And my fiance does not cry at movies and does not have feelings when it comes towards movies like that. She was tearing up at the very last couple shots. Um, but yeah, like stuff like that. Like it's hopeful for me because I don't want theaters to die. I like going to the theaters. I have one of those movie pass things for Regal, so I can go to I don't know. I think it's like unlimited for $22 a month. So it's if you go twice a month, it's worth it. But I like the atmosphere, even when it's empty. I went to see Guillermo del Toro's new Nightmare Alley, and theater was empty, and I was like, I just like being in the big screen and like being in the dark and like just
Mm-hmm.
having a place to go, and it's not expensive. It's a hobby that's so inexpensive now. So like it's just I don't know. I like the theater experience. I like most of the big blockbuster stuff. It's good for being that. It's better than like the '90s action Roland Emmerich schlock, but I like the theaters. I want them to stay alive.
Well, also too, I think like if you're like if you're trying to come out right now and be like a director or start like not even be a director, like just start like a franchise,
Yeah,
like or like just start an empire, I think what you do is you write a story that has like and the ability to have 8 movies, because that emotional connection, that is one of the things that it the length of the movie will never matter if the fans are emotionally invested, right?
yeah,
That's why Endgame can be 4 hours and everybody will watch it.
right.
Yet Justice League is 4 hours and people are like, I don't even really want to watch this. Some people are like that. Like if you read the comic books and things like that. But there's something about Marvel. They got people. And Star Wars to an extent was the same way. I think Marvel and Star Wars are
They're
comparable.
they're doing better with the TV shows. I think that's the right way for them to go
Hmm. But
with
yeah,
the Star Wars.
also TV shows too, dude. Like Star Wars, Disney has unlimited amounts of what they can do with those Star Wars TV shows and those Marvel TV shows, because like Hawkeye does not deserve a movie, but he does deserve a TV show,
Mhm.
and and they do really well. Do they not?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched all. Holy shit, there's five Marvel TV shows this year. I watched all of them, and they're all varying degrees of good to great. Like, there's not a bad one in there. Same with the like Star Wars is on the Book of Boba Fett right now as we recording this, and I just watched an episode of that today. It's a quality show. I'm really enjoying. I really enjoyed the Star Wars TV shows, but they like they don't that's the thing, is like the length of something bothers people. Like, they wouldn't watch The Last Duel with 2.5 hour movie in theaters, but I guarantee you if The Last Duel was a 3-part miniseries on Netflix, well, that's fine. All of a sudden, it's still 2.5 hours. We were watching a show. I was watching a show with my fiance the other day, and we were on like the 5th episode just because it was just on. I was like, we can watch 4 hours of this, but when a movie's over 2 hours, you complain, but it's the same thing. And I guess I don't know if it's the artificial breaks or like the recaps or what it is, but like, people can't do the long movies, but I can sit down and watch 6 hours of a TV show in a row. I don't know what
Mhm.
that is.
I think it might be the fact that the artificial breaks attached to cliffhangers with those artificial breaks.
It's
So
true.
if you have a movie, you have a scene break when there's a cliffhanger, right? But it's a
Yeah.
very small, or the end of the movie, there's a cliffhanger. But in these shows, dude, you get like Peaky Blinders is a perfect example. Did you watch Peaky Blinders?
I haven't seen Peaky Blinders, but
Every single season ending, there's the insane cliffhanger, but every episode there's a cliffhanger. So it's like that's the way you do it if you want to make a show like that. People will
yeah.
come in for the fact that it's 1920s gangsters in Europe, and then they'll stay for the cliffhangers, the emotional attachment. I think one of the things that ekes me to my core is the TikTok actors. They think they're actors, and they're just like that. I can't stand it. Or like the lip syncing over, and they're like, "I want to be an actor." It's like, honestly, yeah, that's what you do if you want to be an actor. Is like you get a big enough following, like you can do anything. But I feel like acting is such a great like art form, and that so few people are technically great at it, that like you can't just like get famous and be an actor. And I feel like a lot of people today's want to do that, and so a lot of these movies that are coming out on Netflix, TV shows, are just people who are famous and have big names, but they don't really have any talent to them. And so I feel like to make something technically great, you have to create something that's emotionally attaching, have those cliffhangers, and have technically great actors.
Yeah, there's a lot of acting talent out there. Like, most like low budget stuff that I see that's not intentionally schlock is like, they're pretty decent, like like actors in it, and like they're pretty like solid. I think the pool is pretty deep when it comes to like the TikTok actors. The best I see are when they're doing some sort of comedy. I think you can do comedy in short form and write it yourself, because all you have to do is write some good jokes, and you can do it. Or if you're really minimalist, but but like your writing is good, that's when it's good. It's when I think it's harder to do like dramatic kind of stuff, and like you obviously can't do any like action sci-fi. Like, it's hard to do that by yourself. But I
Yeah.
think when it comes to like independent people like that, you can do some comedy and like show your chops. But then if you ever get big enough and get lucky enough to get cast as a cameo or a small role in a thing, you're not going to be good in that because that's not your medium. That's not what they're going to use. They don't use you right. If you're good in short bursts, it's because you're good in short bursts. And maybe you could do a YouTube show. I know a lot of like TikTok and Vine people have YouTube shows, and I like some of that. That's still only like 10 to 15 minutes. It's a different form when you're trying to be a character for seasons on a show, or be a character that you need to love or hate or immediately have an attachment to in a 90-minute movie. That's a different kind of skill, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about that last time. What do you think are the skills that somebody needs or that actors use, the best actors use to make them so technically great? Like, what are these skills that these top actors, you talk about Denzel Washington, Leo DiCaprio, what do these guys all have or girls all have that makes them technically great?
The best actors that we have that like most people like would say like that is like an A-list, like they should be everything, is just charisma. It's the hardest thing to have, and it's not really a teachable skill. And that's what's the difference between an actor that you've seen 100 times. He's always guy B in suit, or they're always friend of friends, girlfriend, and they're in a bunch of stuff and you recognize them. And I probably see them and everything because I watch all my stuff, but like they're never going to be the star because there is a like a je ne sais quoi charisma barrier to being like if you're Leo, you're Leo and you're number one or two or three in everything, and everyone knows it's you, and you're there. People are there for you. Most people can't do that, and it's really hard to do that like naturally. I think there's a lot of great working actors who you've seen in hundreds. Harry Dean Stanton was like that his whole life. Like he died a couple years ago, but he was in movies from the 50s all the way up to the 2010s, and he was always just a guy around. And he's made he's like 200 movie credits, and like most people don't even know who that guy is because he's a working actor. He's really quality. Doesn't have that natural charisma like a lot of the leads would have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Leo's a crazy one because he is 100%. I don't even know a movie where he's two. Do you know a movie where he's two?
You could call it like Django Unchained, where he's the villain. So like that, he's like two or three in the cast list.
Okay.
You got Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz, and then him maybe. Like it's hard to, and then even Samuel Jackson is in it just as much, if not more than him.
Yeah.
But after his late 90s Titanic, Romeo and Juliet, that kind of era, no, I mean he's gonna either going to be the star, or he at the very lowest he'll be a Calvin Candy. Like that's kind of the lowest on the billing he can go.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, because like even if he's in it for half a second, you put his name on the credit, like you put his name up there, like to show that he was in it. Yeah, he's a weird one. Did you watch Don't Look Up?
I did watch Don't Look Up.
From a movie critic standpoint, how did you feel about the movie?
It's pretty polarizing for most people. I liked it. I mostly liked it. I would kind of give it like a 3-star movie that's trying really hard to be
a 4 or 5.
Like it's trying so hard to be so clever and like so like and I liked it for what it is. I thought a lot of the comedy worked. Again, actor that is in a bunch of stuff but no one cares about. Mark Rylance, the guy who plays the billionaire Steve Jobs kind of guy. One of my favorite performances in the movie, and he was in the Trial of Chicago 7 like 2 years ago, Oscar nominated movie. But no one knows Mark Rylance, like the kind of big star, but he's excellent in that and everything he's in. It's some parts played like a cheesy SNL skit, which I heard a lot of the complaints. I'm like, yeah, I see that, but I don't know. I thought it was I thought it was all right. I kind of liked it.
I kind of liked it too, but to backtrack to the billionaire, me and my girlfriend, when we watched it, we're trying to figure out what he was doing. Was he like just trying to be awkward and kind of like off a little bit with his like the way he was speaking and everything like that? Or was he trying to emulate one of the billionaires today?
I think he's trying to be a specific type of character who you could not recognize as a Musk or a Gates or a Jobs or a Zuckerberg. Like he wasn't trying to be a specific billionaire. I think he was trying to be eccentric, weirdo guy who comes off that way to the crowd. Behind the scenes is much more cutthroat and on it, but still kind of spacey. I think that it's just kind of they just kind of took like, I think they probably drew up 5 names and they're like, all right, what do they have in common? and then like dial it up to some sort of like, I don't know, maybe neurodivergent level. I don't know. I whatever it was, whatever he was doing, it worked for me. I thought he was a good, like, laughing, hateable, but like ridiculous villain.
Yeah, that's the way that's what I got from it too. People were trying to say like Zuckerberg kind of, and I was just like, I mean, he's off, but like he doesn't have that.
It's not a one
I
for
was
one.
talking like this, like you gotta have like that. He was like talking like that, and he was like,
Yeah.
and yeah, he did play like you easily just didn't like him from when he was on screen. The
Right.
reason I liked it was because like you could get some hate from either, like you could say it was kind of politically polarizing, but I thought that it captured like 2020 like American culture perfectly. Like people care more about breakups between rap couples, and the media just wants to spin it off, and the politicians just want to make money with the billionaires, and everyone's just gonna fight about what's right. And I thought it was technically perfect at doing that, at being kind of sort of off. It was kind of like off, and I think it was kind of supposed to be a little off, while also getting at fundamentally, yeah, we're making a movie and we're kind of making it a little off and it's not reality, but like look around, dude. Like, this is kind of what's going on. And so that's the reason I liked it. And I also thought like, I thought Leo's like his freak out scene was a great scene. I thought he owned that scene. I thought Jennifer Lawrence played a smart girl who blows up and is kind of like a meme perfectly. She's just kind of pissed off and
Yeah,
mean.
she's a good, like, the people in the movie hate her. Like, we
Yeah.
feel like frustrated for her, but like
Yeah.
but like the people in the movie, she's the perfect, yeah, meme, like,
Yeah.
villain to hate on for annoying them.
And then also
And
Jonah Hill played like a douchebag politician's son perfectly. I
yeah,
thought it was good. I liked it. A lot of people were like, I hated it, but I was like, I thought it was pretty good.
I can see, most of the complaints I've seen were politically based complaints, and
I'm sure they were.
I don't think that's a good reason to dislike a movie, because it either doesn't line up with your politics or it pokes fun at your beliefs. I don't think that's a good reason to dislike, especially when it's a movie. It's like I know it's kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but it is an art form, despite it being commercial, and and a billion people make it, and some of the products out there are pretty soulless and cash grabs. At its core, it is still an art form. So I don't think it's something to get upset about that way. I think it's fine, like a three-star movie.
Yeah, I do. That's some of the backlash SNL's getting right now. Like that's what they're getting right now. I don't know if you've heard any of the backlash, but it's the fact that they took like, they were like this raunchy like comedians for like all the time, who had like all these raunchy comedians on who built like careers for like all these Eddie Murphy, these great comics. And now they're kind of flipping and playing into the political scene. It's like, that's not what you're supposed to be. SNL is supposed to be this groundwork of like American comedy, right? And so that's some of the backlash for SNL. I hope that doesn't transcend into the movies. I hope that people still make technically great movies, and to make technically great movies, not just to play a role in some political like idea. Because that's what China does, dude. Like China makes propaganda movies.
They edit stuff out of stuff that we send over. They're like, we're not gonna have, like,
Yeah.
they edit out. It's usually small stuff, but like it affects the art, like, a lot of the time. Like sometimes you need the characters you have in the movie to be the way they are, and it's not like great. They're not either great people or you don't agree with like what they are, but like you need that to tell this story to be like either accurate or to get like the emotional response that you need, or to send the message you're trying to send. You need people to be a certain way, and they're not all gonna kind of fit what you would like to see in like your daily life. That's not how it works.
Well, yeah, and yeah, that's the weird one, dude. And like there was a movie that came out, like their big movie franchise is called, dude, I can't even think about it, but it's a movie about like this Chinese warrior in a war against the Americans, and it's totally propaganda against America. But he like the Americans like this he's funded by these big corporation billionaires, and he's kind of an asshole, and like the Chinese guy is like, he's the hero, he's the villain, he's just trying to save this bad guy, and it's totally propaganda, it's 100%. and then they edit stuff out of us, and they make John Cena apologize, and the whole thing is so weird.
That was not about. I never even. I didn't. I heard him apologize in. I think it was in Mandarin, and I didn't know what that was about. I wasn't following the specific story of that. But
Oh, so basically, he called Taiwan a country because it's a country, and then because Fast and the Furious is so big in China, they were like, you have to apologize so that we can get the money. Basically, it was disgusting. It was bad. But yeah, I don't like catering to a country for movies because I think movies. It's like it would be like if let's think of a great musician. Let's say we were talking about Elton John earlier. It'd be like if Elton John like changed words in his song to fit a country's beliefs. It's like or an art piece. You had to paint differently because of a specific person you're selling to. And now that makes a little more sense, right? You paint for who you're selling to, but it's like it damages the art form if you don't let the artist just speak,
Well, yeah, I think when it comes to like big blockbuster stuff, a lot of that is like made to be crowd pleasing in a way that like everyone's gonna like they want it. Like when it comes to big stuff, you want it to appeal to the most people possible, and you don't want to upset people. So a lot of big stuff, they kind of play it safe, and like you can still make good stuff with that. Marvel still makes good stuff with having to play it safe in certain respects. And I actually almost dislike that more than just making a straight out like propaganda film, because if you're making that, it's obvious to most. I mean, in China's a little different because of the media restrictions they have over there in comparison. But if you in a generally society where you can Google anything anytime you want to, and like you can look up whatever you want anytime you want, you get the history of the world in your pocket, then you can make any kind of whatever thing. And if your audience finds it and they're like, I don't see a problem with that, because when you restrict that, then you can restrict other things that other people don't like. And in general, I want the artist, if the artist wants to make a thing that it's like, I hate this person and this is my movie about I have me hating or like this type of person, I'm like, I mean, if you make that, I don't think anyone's going to want to see that. But if you want to try to do that, I don't know. I don't like people restricting art because they don't like the artist's beliefs or what the movie's saying. Kind of gotta like. There's got to be some. That's how it's always. This art's always been a way to do whatever you kind of want and say whatever you want to say, and the people will respond to it the way they want. The common public will dictate what is the sentiment.
Yeah, that's the weird one, right? It's like, and it's the weirdest one about the whole like art form and like political beliefs thing is like right now it seems like it's not even just like what people believe, it's just what they believe regarding COVID. It's kind of weird. It's like people have to come out and like if anybody like there's people who are it's the argument anti-vaxxers versus vaxxers. That's all anyone cares about. And it's kind of weird because it's like everyone should just like want people to be not die from COVID, obviously. But like if some people like got vaccinated and they're like, yeah, I had these effects on my body, we should be talking about that too. It's weird that like scientists are getting censored and things like that, and that people who are in movies or actors are getting yelled at because they come out about talking about like, oh yeah, I got COVID and I'm not vaccinated, and then they're just demonized and like, oh, but I did this treatment, and then they're like, oh, demonize them more. And it's like we're at a weird time where it's like you're allowed, if you believe something differently than someone, like you're allowed to just like antagonize that person. It's a weird dynamic,
I'm surprised. It's stronger now than it used to be. I'm surprised that people who say they want people to be and do whatever they want are sometimes people doing that. When I was younger and it was like a religious group coming on and saying like censoring something on TV because they didn't like bad language or nudity, I understood that and I thought it was silly and dumb, and like most people didn't listen to that because if anything, censorship is pretty like for that kind of stuff it doesn't matter so much anymore. And then when you come back at the other side, when you're like, oh, I don't know if I don't like that this person's not get either getting vaxxed or if they're saying something about it that doesn't fit the larger narrative, and then you get pushed back that way. I don't understand. It's surprising to me it's come around like that, because I don't think censorship really ever helped a lot when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, I talked about censorship not too long ago on this podcast because I hate it. I have a podcast where I talk to all types of people, and one of the things that I like is people to be honest with me. If they disagree with me, I like to disagree with people because I think that that's the way I grow my mind.
Mm.
I also like I'm kind of a philosophy student, so that's just kind of what I learned. Yeah, I don't like censorship, and I really, really, really don't like fucking censorship of the art forms. Like, I don't think that will help anything. I think actually art will set us free. All types of artwork, people being honest with how they feel, and that goes with both ways. You know, like people need to be if they don't conform to societal norms and they feel different, but they're creative genius, let them do whatever they need to do. Same thing for the other side. If somebody believes that, you know, them and their families don't need to get this COVID booster, let them do that and don't hate them. Like, that is their choice. I don't like the whole hatred thing. It's weird. And like you said, the people who technically say that, like, they want people to be able to live freely and love their lives. And
that's the biggest rub for me, is that
yeah,
when people say they want everyone to be able to do what they want to do, but like, nah, not everything. I'm like,
yeah.
well, I mean, you gotta. What are you really? Are you really for doing whatever you want within legal reason, or do you just want your way to win? Because I'm not really about that. I'd like to. I'd like to be able to everyone to be able to do within the reasons of law, like in civilized society, do what they want to do.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is like, if someone says something that you don't agree with on like like the weird thing with me is like how that people argue in like comment sections and stuff. It's like, if you're debating about something and it's like really interesting, maybe that's like a maybe. But like, if you're just arguing with someone you don't know that doesn't know you, it's like, just scroll.
I want to know how much comment, like how long that thread would be of all the arguing comments. Because I don't think I've ever done it. Even when I really wanted to say something, like I'm just like, this will do nothing but make me more upset for longer. Like I will read them. I still read them, and I shouldn't even do that. But like my fiance the other day, she's on a like a local news Facebook group, and every once in a while, someone will say something that she thinks is ignorant, and I'm like, don't fucking say it. Just don't do it. Like, don't respond. Like, just like leave it alone, because like it's only going to upset you more. And like, yeah, you're probably also upsetting them, but like, you don't get to see that. It's not like you're getting anything from it. Like, you are just making yourself less happy doing that. I don't know why you're doing that.
Yeah, one of the things that I shouldn't do is my numbers on YouTube have been going up like pretty decently lately. Like, I've been getting like, I've been getting into like the tens of thousands. And dude, I read the comments that people say about me, and I should not do that because
dude, it's like, because that's why like I'm glad I do a movie show. And like, people, if I find arguing about that, because that's a silly fun topic, when you get into arguing about COVID things or politics things or anything that's like that, like I could never do the show you do, because I don't have the skin for it. I don't have like I could not go and talk about what I really think about stuff and ask other people what they think and do that regularly. I would crumble like a ball. I play it safe in the movie world, because I just it's too much. I can't stand people just hating me. Like, I know if you saw me in real life, like we would be fine. Like, every person you regularly meet is totally fine in real life, and as soon as the screens go up and you can comment, and you're just like, everyone's like, it's like a war, and I'm like, I don't want to be in the war. I just want to talk about my movies. Like,
yeah, sometimes it feels like the war is like, I am like the target of the war, because like, I mean, like, I get it. Like, I say, like, I feel like I don't even say that much controversial things. Like, I 100% and for everybody to be equal and everybody live happy. I just don't think that people deserve to be persecuted for what they believe. And I also don't think that we should be requiring a new technology of a drug for like young people. Like, there's a difference when you're talking about like my grandma and my dad and my parents are getting older, and I think that they 100% the new technology get vaccinated. But when there's things that like 100% help, like monoclonal antibodies and NAD drips and ivermectin. I don't know about ivermectin if it works or not. I have no idea.
It was mixed on that, yeah.
Yeah, but we know that like NAD and like fluid with vitamins and monoclonal antibodies, those do affect COVID some form, and especially for a class of people who doesn't have any comorbidities and is young and healthy. I don't really like the whole requiring people to conform to beliefs. I never have. I think people should trust science and trust people's scientists. I have talked to a virologist multiple times, and he's talked about how mRNA vaccines are dope and all this stuff, and I trust them. And anytime I have a question, I ask him because I believe people who do research, not just people who talk shit in comment sections. However, it doesn't mean that I have to hate somebody because they don't believe that they need to do something. And yet just fucking dude. I feel like I'm in the last story. Like it's me.
It's the last is you in the comment section. Oh my god.
Yeah.
There's the one thing I do like about because like I think there's a restriction currently. There's an age limit on the vaccine. I don't know what it is. It's a 12, 10, 5. It's like kind of low. And my fiance and I, our favorite thing to do is to go on cruises, and all of the cruises right now are 100% first vaccine, so first 2 shots, not booster, not required. And I'm super for that for selfish reasons because there are no children on this boat. I get to go on the boat, and everyone is above. Everyone is at least. I mean, there's some like teenagers, but everyone's an adult or older. Like no fucking little kids running around knocking shit over. So I'm like, for this specific instance, this is benefiting me. But they got it's just funny. Like when people get mad about stuff and like how it mostly like it doesn't really affect you in your day to day life. Like, is it really like how much is doing one thing versus the other thing hurting you or helping you, and like and then what are the odds long term one thing hurts you more than the other? Like it's very specific circumstances where it's deeply affecting you personally or someone like it's not like that's why I like I have my own opinion on it, but like I try to be like I don't really care because in the end I really don't, because I'm like it doesn't affect me that much except when I go on cruises.
Except when I go on
cruises. Then I'm like, yeah, all right, keep the vaccine mandates. Don't let kids have them because then I can keep going on cruises without children. It's the only reason.
Yeah, and I worry that I go to a liberal arts school, so I haven't said anything like offensive or anything, but I worry that something I have said will offend somebody and I'll get yelled at for, and kicked out of school. And I don't think that'll happen because I haven't said anything offensive at all. I'm not an offensive person, but I do worry about that. But I worry more about censorship more. And I worry that I would rather talk freely about what I believe on a platform with a bunch of people who are smarter than me so that we grow and I grow, maybe I'm wrong about something, and I hope I am. I'm sure I am. I'm not going to know that I'm wrong about something unless I explain my beliefs to someone who has a different belief and we talk about it, And I truly believe that is more important than just listening to what you think is not offensive all the time. I really think that it is more important to think freely and really, really talk about difficult concepts. It's more important to do that than it is for any type of censorship or any type of, being just like walking on eggshells when you talk. And so that's why I continue to do it. And that's why I continue to have all different types of people from all different types of walks of life on, is because I think that going forward in this whole weird time, I think that's going to be the most important thing is being free to talk and being free to change,
I say like a lot of the shows that I listen to, I try to listen to dueling perspective beliefs on most everything because I don't fully agree with one side or the other of the big 2 sides of things. Like I'm not enough in one camp or the other for it to bother me. But like I like to hear it all because I like to be aware of what everyone's bubble is saying, so that in my own personal life when I talk to people I can adjust things and like. It's helpful for me to just like know where people are at, and it's like it's gonna change me somewhat or the other, but I know where I'm at with my stuff for the most part. But yeah, I couldn't do this show, man. I mean, I couldn't do your show all full time, man. It's so it'd wreck me mentally.
It's tense, dude. It is tense, and But
Once a year is good for me.
it's fun though. We have fun conversations, right?
It is true. No, I like being on this. And I guess on another podcast, which is like an all like geek related media shows. Sometimes I like just doing shows because I like talking about stuff, and I just like podcasting is like my, other than movies, is my favorite medium of like entertainment. I just love hearing people talk about stuff they like to talk about and like be good at it, and like typically it overlaps with my own likes, and it's why and then you can just have it on doing anything. I play old GameCube games, mute the GameCube game because I've beat it 100 times, and just throw a podcast on because that's like my unwinding activity. So
yeah, I do that exact same thing, except I used to do it with Madden, and I've been doing it with Fortnite again because
okay.
I swear Fortnite is just fucking let's go. But however, like I turn down the sound all the way, and then I can't hear people, and then it's kind of hard to play. It's kind of hard to play a shooting game when you can't hear the people.
Do you play with like people people? Because like when I play online, I'm always the only time I play online is when I'm with my friends, and like I catch up. That's how I catch up with my friends that don't live near me anymore. So
yeah,
like when it comes to like multiplayer, I'll do that. But otherwise, I'm playing old single player garbage GameCube games because it's my nostalgia gets me. So I play what I played when I was 10.
Unless I'm just like bullshitting and like doing some challenges to get a new skin.
Yeah, I've done that before, and then I'll throw something not like a podcast on, and then I'll just like, I won't hear footsteps, I won't hear people shooting. I mean, whatever. Like, I'll cope.
But yeah, actually, I want to show you this. No, I'll show you afterwards. But I have so I don't have a mic right now, and I have my other USB microphone taped to the wall, and then it's plugged into my Xbox so that I can like talk to my friends. So I do play with my friends. Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, see, this one I have right now is my gaming mic. I have my podcast mic, but we do ours a different way. And with this, I'm actually my fiance's computer right now. I haven't gotten the mic and this to also be on at the same time because I want to use these headphones, but it's got a mic, so I got to like turn this mic off, turn that one on, and I just haven't figured out how to do it with like Skype and Zoom yet. But
no, yeah, it sounds perfect. Yeah, I can tell that it looks like you're about a game right now.
Yeah, I know, it's right. Like I got my this is the podcast mic I got here, but like
that's nice.
But yeah, like this is, I mean, and also I record down here. My fiance's got we record in separate rooms too when we do our show because my other two co-hosts don't live nearby. So like, we're all over the place doing and when we're guests on, we do like calls and then I splice all the stuff together afterwards. It's probably an easier way to do it like this, but
yeah, you could totally just do like a 5-person Zoom call, dude.
Yeah. I don't think they want to be seen in a lot of my co-hosts when they're doing stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you don't have to do it, but you can turn off your camera on Zoom and everything.
It's true. And we don't have a video portion of our show right now. Like, we don't have all our stuff's audio. Like, we don't have a individual thing. I've wanted to do more of that. I just, like, the past year I had no time to do it. And then, we haven't decided on what it's going to be yet. Because right now, every show is just a review show. And unless we're recording ourselves talking and then like cutting stuff in, it's just going to be like visuals. And I'm like, for 45 minutes, I don't know if it depends on. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Do you know what the Midnight Gospel is?
No, Midnight Gospel, no.
It's you know who Duncan Trussell is, right?
Yeah, comedian.
So his podcast, he made it into like an animated show on Netflix, and it's like a podcast show, animation kind of show. It's really dope. You should check it out. It's called Midnight Gospel.
I think I remember you. I think you might have mentioned this last time. I was familiar, or talked about Duncan Trussell last time.
Yeah, I am like 100%. Like, depending on what happens with the show and law school and everything, I really want to do that. Like, that's like my goal is to make a podcast, like a show like that, where it's like like it takes some specific like conversation that's really deep for my podcast. And then I make it into like an animated show, kind of like a little thing on YouTube.
Do you do animations yourself, or would you hire like a friend or something?
No, I'd hire like a friend or something. I have a bunch of friends who are like, so I have some friends who are CS majors, which is computer science. I got some criminals outside.
Got some criminal computer science.
Hold on real quick. I got it. Glares. People are gonna be mad at me about the glare. I was getting some sun earlier. No, you're perfect. My glare. But yeah, I really want to do that. I really want to start a show where I can do that. It's just like takes a lot of time and reference. But yeah, you should check that out, bro. Because it's a dope show. but back to movie reviews, because I was trying to ask you this like 20 minutes ago, but I forgot. You called Don't Look Up a 3-star show, right?
Yeah.
Can you give me a list, and me and the listeners a list of what you think a 1-star and then 2 a 5-star movies are, just so we have some reference to what those stars are?
I have seen so much that it's hard for me to off the top of my head for the 1 stars. I can give you the 5, but I have a Letterboxd. I don't know if anyone else knows what that is, but it's an app for people to share their movies and share their lists and top things. So I can send you my Letterboxd ID and send that out if anyone does movie stuff. But I can tell you right now, my top 5 of all time. I don't know if I've given it before. They're all 5-star movies.
I don't think you have,
And,
but I would love
and
to hear them.
Okay, so my favorite of all time is Jackie Brown. It's a Tarantino movie. It's about a flight attendant, and she has to like dodge the gun runner, ATF agent, a bail bondsman, all these different people, and they're all playing each other. It's a late '90s movie. It's not. When you say Tarantino, it's not as shooty or bloody as a lot of his other movies. It's much talkier. It's much more, I guess, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's the closest one in tone. But that movie, just I've seen it a billion times. The soundtrack's perfect. The one B to that, which is like close behind, is David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, which is like psycho noir thriller, kind of soap opera-y at times. Supposed to be a TV show. He had 5.5 hours of footage. They didn't want the pilot, so he cut it into a movie, and I think it's just amazing. And it's these are both very long movies. I want to say they both float around HBO Max at times. I haven't seen them anywhere else in a while, but I don't know if they're currently on there. But usually they're on. They come on and off there. The original Star Wars is always going to be, I think, it's my favorite of the Star Wars movies, and I'm a Star Wars guy. I know Empire Strikes Back is what most people point to, but I think the original one is just a really perfect, tight hero's journey. Good white hat, black hat, kind of a classic Hollywood type movie. Beast of the Southern Wild, smaller, indier kind of movie, came out about 10 years ago. It's about this girl who grows up in Louisiana in like, they call it the bathtub. It's like a very DIY impoverished little island that like is full of like the degenerate type adults. And from her point of view, you see what's going on during Katrina, when Katrina hits. So that's an interesting movie. I tear up at that every time. I make people watch it. Beast of Southern Wild, also on HBO Max, typically floating around. And then if I had a fifth one, the fifth one's always hard. It's kind of a rotating slot. I want to stick with those 4 for the top 5, but I'll tell you some bad stuff right now. Hold on.
Yeah, tell me some bad stuff. While you're doing that, I'll tell you my top 3.
Yeah.
Shutter Island's probably my favorite movie of all time. I love that.
Okay.
Movie.
Quality movie. Love it.
Yeah, it's I just love I like the psychological thrillers type of movies. So I think that's probably one. Actually, Inception's 2. So I got 2 Leos up there.
2 Leos, 2 psychological, like those might have been the same year. Those might have both been 2008 or 9, something like that.
I think Inception's 10, and Shutter Island might be before that. It might be either 2012 or 2008. I can't remember.
Okay.
And then 3, I'm gonna go Star Wars, The Revenge of the Sith, because I was a young boy when that came out, and the last fight, and that last fight scene is probably my favorite fight scene of all time, with when it goes back and forth between Palpatine and Yoda, and then obviously when Anakin becomes Darth Vader. I just I literally wanted to be that scene. I would fight my friends and act like I was Anakin, and so that's probably my top 3. And then before you give me the bad one, have you ever seen Last of the Mohicans?
I have seen Last of the Mohicans, yeah.
So my dad swears that the last 10 minutes is the greatest 10 minutes of cinematic history. When they're like,
really?
When he shoots they shoot his friend and he's like burning at the stake, and then they fight up the mountain. They just start like killing everybody. Yeah, my dad, he just loves the movie, the sounds, and then that scene when he's like fighting and then he kills it, and then he like looks over the edge. So if anyone's listening to this and you haven't seen Last of the Mohicans, watch that movie. But then
early Daniel Day-Lewis movie, before he became like only do one movie every 3 years. So it was, if you have any, was he like Braveheart too? I'm assuming then similar kind of tone, like the ending. So I got some on Letterboxd. You go from 0.5 star to 5. So I have some 0.5 stars that a lot of people probably haven't even heard of because they're so obscure, and I just hate them. But for ones that people have heard of, Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of my favorite shows of all time on Nickelodeon, and M. Night Shyamalan made a movie called The Last Airbender, and it's just abysmal. It's got everything wrong. It does everything wrong with what made the show. It's an American anime, so great.
Yeah, I know that show. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of listeners, if they're around our age, would have seen it. They changed rules. They skipped giant portions of interesting story. They rushed. They made the whole book one, which is like 15 episodes of the TV show, 20 episodes. It's long seasons, and they crammed it all into one movie. The characters don't look right. The characters' names are mispronounced. I don't know why that he chose to call Aang Ung, but he did. And there's just a lot. There's just for a fan, it's even worse. It's probably still a terrible movie by all accounts. CG looks bad. There's just nothing redeemable about it. And I'm trying to think of some other ones that people have seen. I'm a big not Adam Sandler fan. I don't like his movies except for the ones where he's not doing the Happy Madison thing. Like, I liked Uncut Gems from a few years ago. I like Punch Drunk Love. But he had a movie where he played himself and his sister, his twin sister. It's called Jack and Jill. And it's kind of just it's the kind of movie that embarrasses me to like movies as an art form. It's so lazy and nothing happens. And like, the big thing in the movie is Al Pacino is like, he's supposed to be part of like this big account that Adam Sandler's character is going to get, Jack. And then his twin sister shows up and he falls in love with her, and they go and just do stuff around. And it's just not, I think there's only one joke in it that works. It's like an actual joke. Most of the jokes are just, oh, look at that weird guy. He gets hit in the face. She falls down. He does a lot of like the old, like they have the Hispanic gardener, and it's old like Hispanic gardener jokes, and they're just not. It's so dated. It's frustrating. I'll give one more. Let's do. So have you ever seen like Scary Movie? Yeah. So those are decent comedies. Scary Movie. The other scary movies are to varying degrees okay. Then there's the other ones like Epic Movie and like
Trip movie. Disaster movie.
That's the one I was gonna say. Disaster movie of those is the most offensively bad. Most of them are like pretty awful. That's the one to me that rubbed me the least way. I don't remember much for that movie. I remember like Kim Kardashian got crushed by like a cow or something, and that's like the joke. I don't know. It's frustrating. So yeah, those are some examples there. I could go on about stuff I hate, but that's the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, you brought up an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and I was going to ask you this earlier, and it jogged my memory. How did you feel about Old?
My fiance and I did a whole show on Old. It's about an hour long, and it was one of our drunk episodes. We don't do them. We do them once or twice a year, but we got hammered and reviewed Old. And because when we saw Old, it was a packed theater. He's a Philadelphia guy, so he's popular around here. And we were laughing hysterically at a lot of stuff you're not supposed to laugh at. The theater would be silent, and we would be cracking up. Like, did you see it?
I did see it.
It's old. It's 6 months old, so the spoilers, I think it's probably you're good, and not that wouldn't affect your enjoyment. But there's a scene where the two kids are like growing up rapidly, and they're in a tent, and like they started out as like 4 and 6 year old kids, and all of a sudden they like clasp hands. And then we cut to a scene later, and this 50-year-old girl is pregnant because I guess they banged in there, and the beach moves so quick. Now she's like showing, and I was like, "What the fuck is the tone? What is the tone here? What is this supposed to be?" So all I did was laugh because I didn't know what else to do. And then the scene where she actually has the baby and they running back and forth on the beach, and what ultimately happens there, I thought it was very funny, like very. Like ridiculously hilariously funny. So we liked it in a jokingly way. I think the writing is abysmal. The acting is pretty awful for actors that are in a lot of the stuff that I like. All the other actors I've seen in other stuff, and I thought they were decent, but in this, I treated it as more of a farcical comedy than I think as the author intended.
Yeah, I was very disappointed because M Night I feel like he either hits or really misses.
That's
He
what
has
he
a
likes to
lot.
do.
Yeah, he has a lot of hits, dude. And I think he made Shutter Island. Am I wrong about that?
Shutter Island is Scorsese.
Scorsese. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we could talk about.
he yeah
What is the M Night Shyamalan movie?
he's
I'm
Sixth
thinking.
Sense, and then he's also the Unbreakable Split Glass
Mhm.
trilogy.
Yeah,
What else did he do? He did The Village, which I thought was okay.
I think I was thinking of Sixth Sense.
Okay, yeah, that was his original. That's when people thought he was going to be the next big thing because first time movie, big blockbuster hit, critical darling. Really good movie. I think it's like a 4-star movie, 4 to 5 star movie. It's super solid, good twist ending, and then he kind of kept doing that kind of stuff, and then it eventually just wore out its welcome.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, Scorsese well, I think we talked about him last time, dude. He has a lot of movies with Leo too.
Yeah, recently Leo's become this new like Robert De Niro because back in the day every Scorsese movie had Robert De Niro, and now I don't know, they probably had like 5 or 6 together. I don't know how many I've seen of Scorsese movies because he has like 30, I think, something like that, and I've only seen probably like a dozen or so
I
because
th-
there's just too many.
yeah, I think he did Wolf of Wall Street. I'm pretty
He
sure.
did do Wolf of Wall Street, yeah.
D-
Um,
Do you like that movie?
Wolf of Wall Street, yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun. That's another quality like comedically movie for him because a lot of his stuff is gangster movies or a
Mhm.
couple other things. Like he does a couple like Gangs in New York. I think is my favorite of his movies. Also with Leo in it. And that was like 2002. But yeah, Wolf of Wall Street's a solid movie.
I like the Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, obviously, like a lot of people my age, especially, really like that movie.
Yeah,
It's a it's. I feel like, I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio is great in his own right. I thought Jonah Hill played very well in that movie. Margot Robbie is beautiful.
Hmm.
You don't gotta say anything else about her. She's also a really good actor. I think she plays
Yeah,
Harley Quinn like perfectly.
yeah. She's the
Um,
best part of most of those movies
yeah, I
for
don't
me.
really watch them. Can't really get into them. My girlfriend made me watch Birds of Prey though, and I actually I liked it decently
Hmm.
because of Harley Quinn.
It's like a 2.5 ish stars for me. If I thought you when it came out, that's not one that sticks in my head too well, but it's all
Yeah,
right.
I feel like that's probably what I said. I wanted to ask you about this too. Joker. How did you like Joker?
Oh, Joker was really good. Joker was it didn't make my top 5 that year, but it was close. It was like a top 10, top 15 type of movie. Again,
Mm,
saw that one with my fiance. We did that. We covered that one on the show, but Joker worked really well for me, and a lot of it too is because it's taken from 2 Scorsese movies. It's taken from Taxi Driver and from King of Comedy, which are 2 of my top 5 Scorsese movies, and
mm,
especially King of Comedy. Love King of Comedy, one of his lesser known ones, but that's where Robert De Niro is kind of playing like Robert De Niro in both those movies. Is you combine them together, that's basically Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's character, and obviously in Joker, he's the big like talk show host guy. And in King of Comedy, he kidnaps a big talk show host guy and like big and does his shows in front of him, tied up in his basement, and like that's a big thing. So like because I like those 2 other movies, this worked for me really well. It's a good homage to those.
I don't think I've ever seen Taxi Driver, but like hearing that description, I think I'm gonna have to watch it.
It's a mid 70s movie. So like if you can, so I know some people like one of my co-hosts, she will not watch anything before like 2004. Like she just
Mhm.
can't get into old stuff. But if you like, if you don't mind stuff that looks older, it's a quality movie. He's I think he's a war vet, and he comes back and he's a total weirdo, but you don't know that. You kind of slowly learn that as the movie goes on, based on his mannerisms, and then by the end, it's yeah. I'm not gonna spoil it for you because
Yeah.
it's worth watching.
No, yeah, and I mean the cool thing about like my dad's like he's turning 60 this year and I'm 22. So like he was an older dad. Like I'm the youngest in my family, but he like growing up, like I would watch a lot of movies. That's like my dad's favorite thing to do. My dad loves watching movies, so I'd watch a
Mm.
lot of movies growing up, and I'd watch a lot of old movies because like he always said like it doesn't matter like when it was made. If it's a great movie, it's a great movie. Like
Mhm.
one of my favorite trilogies of all time is like from the 80s. It's Back to the Future. I think
Mhm.
if you haven't seen that movie and you can tolerate something that's older than 2004, Back to the Future is like you can't go wrong with those movies. You know,
Yeah.
I love
80s
those movies.
movies are interesting because 80s movies feel distinctly like the music and when I go back and look at decade stuff, 90s and 70s are closer to each other than the 80s. The 80s kind of stand out in their movies and music and pop culture. It's the look, it's the sound, it's very synthy pop weird. And I think Back to the Future is included in that, and that it doesn't fit in any other decade. Still, having said that, I like all three of them, the whole trilogy, like quite a lot.
Yeah, I fear that they're gonna remake those movies and they're just gonna be totally horrible. You know what
They'll
I mean?
remake them eventually. They will.
Yeah, they remake everything nowadays, and I feel like a lot of the times the remakes are not as good as the solid beginning. You know?
I'm trying to think of one where it is better. Because for the most part they're either fine on their own or they're much worse.
Total Recall. What did you think about that?
I never saw the Total Recall. Didn't see it.
What other remakes are there? There's got to be more remakes than just that.
Oh, yeah. Try to think. Well, I mean, there's also like sequels that are soft reboots, like the Jurassic World series.
Mm,
Like Jurassic World is basically Jurassic Park. And they're not. They're not. And even Jurassic World King, Fallen Kingdom, whatever the middle one is not super different from Jurassic Park 2.
mhm.
I'm trying to think of like straight. I mean, there was a new West Side Story remake, but I didn't see that because I do not like the original at all. So I was not. I've heard they're both good. I've actually heard that both are like super high quality movies, and like if it's like the first one, I don't want to see it because I don't like the first one.
Yeah, yeah. Remakes are weird. I feel like especially for like movies, like unless you like kind of, I guess one of the examples I would say, I think at the Adam Sandler. I know you don't like Adam Sandler, but I think the Adam Sandler Longest Yard is pretty good.
Yes, that is one I think is all right. There's some stuff in there that works, doesn't work, and that is also a remake. But yeah, I mean that movie's okay. It's not like one of the ones that makes me angry. A lot of his movies make me angry, but that one is. It's got some WWE guys in it too, and I used to watch that when I was younger. So
Mhm.
like I like seeing like the Great Khali smash his head in the wall. So
Well, also like Neo's in it, and they have what's his name from the Cowboys, all time
oh
great.
um
Oh, somebody's
yeah, who do
ripping
they
at
have
me
in
right
it?
now. Somebody in the
Uh,
comments is gonna rip me for this, dude.
I can't. I saw. I watched this years ago. I don't remember the whole cast of this one. Um, I know Burt Reynolds is the guy. It's the old
Hmm.
dude. Well, I'm not gonna get it. I don't think I'm
Me
gonna
either.
get it.
Well, Brennan, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on again, man.
Good to be back.
Do you
Good
have
to be
anything you want
back.
to finish? Any conversation you want to finish on? Anything you want to say?
Um, I no, I mean, like I'll do my one more round of plugs here at the end for my film stuff. Oh, I guess if you like movie stuff, you like voting on stuff, and like having your voice stuff and stuff heard, that draft I talked about earlier, the movie draft for 2021, that's on my Instagram, and we do post matches every day. It's in like the middle of it right now. I don't know when this is going up, but it's probably getting close to the end. So if you want to vote on that, there's a match every day. It's one-on-one movie from 2021, and that's at my Instagram at Brennan_podhost. And then if you have Letterboxd, Brennan_podhost also there for movie stuff because I'll probably follow you back because I always like following people for movie stuff.
Hmm. Cool, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude. Again, this is a lot of fun. I love talking to you, bro. You always are so knowledgeable about movies, and every time I'm glad we did it like after a year because we got to talk about all the movies that came out
that's right.
that I didn't get to talk to you about last time. But yeah, man, it's actually going to be out tomorrow morning at around 9 a.m. Pacific time, so about noon your
Okay.
time. So I'll tag you and everything. And yeah, man, every time you come on, man, it's a blast. So thank you again.
Appreciate it, Colin. I'll be back, I don't know, a year from now or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. You have a great rest of your night, man, and I'll send you everything when it comes out.
Sounds good. You too, man.
See ya. Good night.
Peace.